Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Londonderry Town Council meeting for April 18th, 2022. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Does anyone have a moment of silence for tonight? We can continue with the same one. Really praying for the atrocities that are going on in Europe and Ukraine, hoping that some people come to their senses and that they bring safety back to the community. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our tradition to open with public comment. Tonight I have on my agenda Larry Casey from Concerts on the Common, joined by the Lees. Is it all three of you or just you, Larry?
No, it'll be all three.
Floor is yours. Well, best is if you're on mic so they can hear you over the telephone. So if one wants to go there and two want to go here, whatever you're comfortable with.
Well, why don't we stand up here with this around this microphone? Kind of tag team here a little bit.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay, thank you. Larry Casey, I live at 35 Forest Street. I'm the chair of the Londonderry Arts Council, and I'm joined by Stephen and Julie Lee. Stephen is the secretary of the Arts Council. Julie and Stephen are the heart and soul of Concerts on the Common. Without them, it wouldn't happen. I can tell you that for sure. A huge amount of work that they put into it every year to make it what it is. So we're here tonight basically to thank the town and the council in particular for the ongoing support that we receive to, produce Concerts on the Common. This will be our 22nd season, and we're very excited about, the lineup that we have, and Stephen and Julie will share details on what we have in store for this year. The last couple of years obviously were kind of crazy, but some positive things came out of it. We streamed the concerts the year before last. Last year we were able to get 6 concerts delivered. Our sponsors, business sponsors, continued to support us during that downturn, and we were very grateful to receive support from them. We also took the initiative to apply for and successfully received 2 grants from the state, community grants for community engagement, and we're going to be planning to file for another grant coming up in July. So that's part of the equation. So this year it's going to be bigger and better than ever. Without tapping into any town budget for FY23, we have a solid budget and the funding available to deliver 11 concerts between June 6th and the Old Home Day concert that we will be, sponsoring and putting on to kick off the Old Home Day. So in terms of overarching goals for this year, I was here with Stephen, I don't know how many years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, talking about the Arts Council in general. I think it was news to a lot of the council members at the time in terms of the scope of what we do. Concerts on the Common is the most visible one. And we did make a plea at that time for some additional financial support from the town. And the question came up from one of the council members, what would you do with it if we gave you more money? And my answer then and my answer tonight is that we want to upgrade the quality of the music that we bring to the Common because it attracts more people, not just from Londonderry, but from surrounding communities. And the bands that we've been booking lately have their own following. So when we book the right band on the Common, we bring people from out of state. Their own fan base shows up, and it just highlights the quality of the life experience here in Londonderry. The other thing that we plan to do this year is to do more advertising. We'd like to put an insert into a paper so that people can, with the full schedule, so they can take it out and tape it to the refrigerator and they have it in front of them, but also run rolling weekly ads so that we have the next 3 concerts identified so people don't lose sight of what we're doing. That's in addition to what we do through our social media channels. We're an add-on member to the Londonderry Dairy Chamber of Commerce. We promote that through that channel, and we do press releases every week, to promote what's going on. The other thing that we'd like to do more of this year, and would ask the town council and town administration to help with this if possible. And Deb, I give you credit for planting the seed with us, but we would like to bring more not-for-profit organizations in town, like Beautify Londonderry. We have one group that just started called Londonderry Together that's into doing, a specific cause, supporting a specific cause. They've already agreed to come to the Common for every concert. We invite them to set up a pop-up tent and a tabletop so that they can promote their cause. So any community organization that's not for-profit, they don't need to be a, whatever the legal designation, what is it, 401c or something like that? Yeah, 501c. Yeah. As long as they're not in the business of making a profit, we welcome them onto the Common. Any of our business sponsors, we also welcome them to do displays. So that's something that we want to do more of this year. In terms of operational support, we did a survey last year over the course of about 3 or 4 concerts, and some of the feedback that we got from our audience members and patrons, we can't do anything about. We can't put bathroom facilities on the Common, for example, but accessibility was one of the recurring themes, and we try to make it possible for people with disabilities to get onto the Common. So we took it upon ourselves last year to actually post handicap parking signs, and we're going to try to block out the roadway leading to the bandstand. Last year we had a couple of food trucks there. We'd like to be able to move them onto the grass somewhere, but designate that as a handicap parking area. I'd need to reach out to the Presbyterian Church across the street to see if we can maybe do the same thing in their parking lot. But one of the things that would help is to, make sure that we have permission to do that so that it makes it easier for folks with disabilities to get onto the Common. And to the extent that it makes sense to have a police detail to help with pedestrian traffic flow, but also enforce that handicap parking area, that would be helpful. I can't tell you how many times I went and confronted people that clearly were not handicapped, were not displaying handicap signage, who insisted on parking there because they like to park there. And it's kind of tough when, you're just a volunteer without any authority to boot them off the Common. So I would just plant that seed if you think it makes sense. John, I know that when you heard that we had a Beatles tribute band coming for Old Home Days, you immediately suggested that there be, some sort of police and EMT support, for that particular concert. So that's all I have to say. I just want to thank the town again for all the support that we get, that we've gotten in the past, that we're looking forward to receiving in the future. And I want to let Stephen and Julie talk a little bit about the lineup that we have this year and some of the exciting acts we have coming on and some of the finer details of what we have in store this coming season.
Mike, we increased their funding this year, didn't we?
I don't have that information, but I can certainly get it.
We did. I thought we increased your funding.
Yeah, my understanding is that you.
Oh, okay. I don't, so many numbers, just don't remember.
Yeah, our understanding is that it went from, actually a few years ago, it was $950 a year. It was moved up to $2,500, and I believe there's a line item in the budget this year for $10,000.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Now, hey, listen, you guys have done a magnificent job. The community loves it, and and we believe we should support what the community loves. And you get me as your liaison now. We changed liaisons.
Great.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
That's good news. Great. Well, I'll let Stephen and Julie talk a little bit about what we've got in store music-wise and in terms of amenities, and you feel free to ask them any questions.
Thank you.
I stay out of their end of the business.
We run everything by Larry.
And I would like to say that, Julie and I have a lot of fun doing this, but we would not be at where we are today without Larry's support. And
No, goodness, no.
Larry's the rainmaker. He comes up with ideas for marketing, for getting sponsors and stuff that I'm an engineer and I just don't think that way. So, but quickly just to run through, I'm sorry.
Come closer.
Quickly, just to run through our schedule, we always start with the high school bands, which I think is a great tradition. They love it. It's the last concert for the seniors. And then we have Neurotic Gumbo. They're back for a third year. large band. They've got incredible horn players. Brian Mace Band, this is going to be a real highlight. Brian Mace is just a phenomenal guy. He's been around forever. His wife, Mary Beth, is just every year just knocks your socks off. But Brian works with Barry Goodrow, who was the former lead guitar player of the original band Boston, and he's going to be with them this year. So we're actually trying to do something that we tried to do and wanted to do in 2020, which would have been our 20th year anniversary. And because of COVID, we haven't really been able to kick it off a little bit. And so we're trying to do that this year. And so we have Barry Goodrow, and then Bruce Marshall is bringing James Montgomery back. He played with them several years ago, probably 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And so they're back again. So, and Bruce is always fabulous, so James Montgomery will be great. Veronica Lewis is kind of the surprise artist this year, I think. We kind of chanced upon her on a New Hampshire Chronicle article on television, and she's won awards and been nominated for awards and stuff. She just graduated from high school last year, but she's a phenomenal keyboard player if you watch her. What a Fool Believes, so it's a Doobie Brothers tribute band, some great players in there too, so that should be a really fun night. All summer long, they're backed by popular demand. It's a Beach Boys tribute band, and they always put on a great show. Ken Yates and Brian Dunn, now these are two guys that we've had over the years. They haven't been here for a while because they've kind of gone off on their own. One's up in Toronto, one's down in New York City. They were originally students at Berkeley, and we got them then, and so we asked them to come back. Yeah, back then they were cheap. And we asked them to come back and come together and come with a band, which will be a first for them. And so that's going to be a really fun
So
night.
Ken's coming down from Toronto for
Right.
the concert.
Right.
And Brian up from New York.
And then Raquel and the Wildflowers, that will be a new group for us, but they look fabulous online. It's two women and a guy that front the band. There's more players than that, so that should be a lot of fun. And Martin and Kelly, they played for us first time last year, and they were just phenomenal. Ryan is just an incredible guitar player, and Jilly's got a great voice. So they're going to be a lot of fun. And then we end the summer with the Beatles tribute band, Studio 2. They're very, very good. They do the music from when the Beatles were out playing. So they don't do the stuff when they were just in the studio. They do their earlier career music, and they kind of dress the part and all that stuff. So it should be a lot of fun that night. Mm-hmm. So we're really looking forward to it. Should be a great summer. And just to say, our main method of communication with the town, with the concert goers, is through our Facebook page, Concerts on the Common. Just search that on Facebook. And we put up, the schedules there. We make events. Steph Millville helps us with that. She creates all the events for us on Facebook. So a lot of help from a lot of people, and we really appreciate the town support too. You guys are phenomenal, and Kirby. She is always there for us. There's tons of little things that have to get done, but they have to get done, and she makes it happen. So we really appreciate that a lot.
So I just want to add some of the things that I've been focusing on. One big thing was being able to provide a food truck for concert goers. Of course, for a number of years, we had Hickory Sticks Barbecue, which is a great food truck, but during COVID, they really faltered, and they're still around, but they're only doing catering, so they weren't able to help us last year or this coming year. They hope to help us next year, but we were able to find just, happenstance really, a food truck called One Happy Camper, and Happy Camper sounds better, but One Happy Clam, and they're out of Derry, and actually it's the husband and wife who used to own Clam Haven, and now they have their own food truck, and they're thrilled to come. They've committed to the summer all but one night, so we're trying to plug that in with an extra food truck. So we're still working on that, but we're excited to actually have someone there every week for concert goers to come and buy some dinner and enjoy the evening. And also, we'll still have our free raffle every week, which is a big source of fun, and I think something that the concert goers really enjoy. Stonyfield Yogurt's back on board with that, And then we always have donations from concert goers. It's unbelievable. Folks bring us gift cards and all sorts of things, tickets and all sorts of things that we raffle off. And so bringing all that back again this year, we're looking forward to it.
Nothing back on the taco guy, he was a big hit.
Well, the taco guy, yeah, well, so hopefully we'll have Ken back maybe for the one night, but Ken it's hard to tie him down to a schedule, so,
He does, I mean, what he does down at that gas station is unbelievable.
yeah, yeah. No, I know, he's very, very popular, but it's tough to tie him down, and we really would like, we really want someone there every week,
It's a
so,
little bit trickier event for a food truck because we're only an hour and a half concert. And they'd much prefer to go someplace and sit for an afternoon.
Right.
Rather
Understood.
than pull up, have to get everything together and stuff for an hour and a
Yeah.
half or so.
yeah. Yeah, we still may
So-
see Ken, though, at one night.
Yeah.
but, Yeah.
Sure.
So anyway, I want, Jim, I want to let you know that Stephen was trying to get Ayla Brown,
Oh, really?
and she decided to have a baby, so, I mean,
She wanted to do it, but baby's coming.
it's a lot of nerve to skip concerts on the Common, to have a family, but anyway.
Next year, next year.
My daughter works in labor and delivery at the Elliott. I could arrange,
Hey, that's a great idea, So anyway, happy to answer any questions about concerts on the Common, but I also do want to mention that on April 30th, the Arts Council has an event coming up at the Orchard Christian Fellowship Church from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's called Arts Cafe. This will be our 8th iteration of that, I believe. We bring in artists and craftspeople to display and sell their work, and we arrange acoustic music throughout the day. So we'll have a number of very high-quality musicians performing acoustic music throughout the day. So you're all invited to come down to that, but, that's one of the live events that we're able to get off the ground. So we'll open it up for any questions you might have. But
I just have one question. You were saying you have to get a police detail?
Oh, you don't have to. One of the things that we're always concerned about, especially later in the year, Deb, first of all, having people with disabilities come on to the Common can be challenging. There's one guy in particular that
I know what you're
parks
talking
along
about.
Pillsbury Road and takes his motorized vehicle down the bank onto the Common, and we always hold our breath, when we
I
see
know
that.
who you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, so, a police detail would help, first of all, as I said, we put up our own signage for handicap parking, and people just ignored it, and,
I was just wondering if you could get Alert to help you out.
okay,
That's all I was
Yeah,
thinking. I mean,
okay.
I understand why you need it. I mean, I remember way back when Mark Oswald was throwing out Frisbees all the time there, and my heart used to go in my throat, because the kids would throw it and it would get
Right.
close to the street, and I would like, oh gosh.
yeah,
So I do know why.
Yeah. no, I agree.
There's a
And-
lot of kids running around having fun. I know you guys try to wrangle them into the
Yeah.
fields, but
The later in the season, it gets to be more of a concern because people are leaving the Common in the dark. And
yeah,
I always worry about people crossing Mammoth Road and crossing Pillsbury Road.
agreed.
you can meet with the police department.
It makes me nervous until everybody's safely off the Common and on their way home, so.
I have a question. A statement and a question. Thank you all for what you do and just really working so hard to do something that brings our community together. And I can imagine the hours that you spend and invest into our town, and that just really means a lot to not just me, but many people. So thank you, honestly. My question is in regards to signing bands. Like, what is the process for a band to sign up for to play? No, I do not. But I know someone. But what is the process for a band to reach out and how does that negotiation process happen? And and also kind of to pivot on that is do you have like a certain amount of like your schedule, your agenda for how many concerts there are? Can you add or subtract some mid season or?
Well, so we pretty much have it bookended by the senior week with the jazz ensembles from the high school, and then Old Home Day.
Okay.
And so, and it's every Wednesday, except the first one's Monday because it's senior week and blah, 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 and everybody gets confused. But it's every Wednesday. And we always have taken off the week of 4th of July, thinking that two things, folks are on vacation, they may not be in town, and we just want to have a break. But the way things worked out this year, we had Veronica Lewis, and that was the only week she could do it, and we really wanted to get her, so we just said, heck, we're going to do it. We're going to have 11 concerts. So we are pretty
Which
much
is up
set.
from 9. We used to be 9.
Yeah, we used to be 9. So we do have set evenings that we have. And then in terms of getting, so I get tons, I mean, now it's great. When we started this 22 years ago, the internet really wasn't that great for like reviewing bands. Now, if they don't have a website, if they don't have, YouTube videos where we can go and watch them and stuff, then I'm just not even gonna really entertain it because they're not that serious. We're looking for musicians, number one. We really want people that can play. We get a lot of bar bands. Everybody loves a bar band, but we really want musicians that can play, that have some skin in the game, that are invested in it. That's what we try to get. A wedding band, they can play all the songs and everything, and it's great, but we still really want people. The best thing that I look for is somebody that has original songs and they do covers. So you kind of get them, you're encouraging people to create music, you're promoting them, you're supporting them, but people still want to hear songs that they know, and so that's why we get, so we don't just want all originals all night typically, because people just don't know what it is. When we have done that in the past, and they've been fantastic bands, and we listened to it before the concert, so we kind of know what's coming, but I know that's not real life, so.
We also try and hit all the genres, right?
Right.
That people would
Yeah.
want.
Other than polka
This year,
bands.
yeah, with
Yeah.
no polka bands. This year, we actually have 2 country bands, which is unusual for us.
Okay.
A lot of times we'll have maybe one country and then the others, some cover bands, some tribute bands, that sort of thing, some singer-songwriter, but this year we have 2 country bands, which is good.
So
But,
will they reach out to you like through Facebook or?
How do they reach out? They, through our website, through Facebook, I get messages there. We get musicians that are getting recommendations from other musicians that have played here, which is great, to see that. And then we can kind of bounce off the other musician, hey, how are these guys and stuff. So, I mean, that's one of the best ways to get them is recommendations from musicians. And that's what I do when we had One More Hole to Fill. That's what I do is I reach out to some of the musicians we know and, hey, do you know a band? We're looking for, in this case, we're also trying to get some diversity in it, trying to get women, men,
Yeah,
different
people of
racial,
color, yeah.
people of color, to try to get a whole everything. So they just, when I started to say, back in the day, I would be struggling to try to find people, and then to vet them, because they had to send me a CD or something, to do that. And now, they're contacting us. I get a ton of, not a ton, but I get a lot of email requests.
Okay.
And, I know a band, or I'm in a band, and stuff like that. So, so we don't have a lack of bands to choose from typically.
Good. Awesome.
But trying to find good ones is not that easy. So,
Stephen also looks at venues that they play.
right.
Yeah.
So, for example, somebody that's played at the Tupelo Music Hall, for example, if they're good enough to play for Scott Haywood, then, we're happy to have them. So he's got he's an engineer, so he's got a mental algorithm he goes through in terms of picking bands. And for me, I know a lot of musicians, and they're always asking me to play. I've had, believe it or not, in the last 24 hours, I've had 2 people reach out to me asking to be on the bandstand. And now I can say we're booked for the year, but I just say, you got to talk to Steve.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody all set? Thank you. See you this summer.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are in public comment. If there's anyone who would like to address the council.
Sure, absolutely.
Good evening.
Just young fella, I think you know the routine.
Dan Bouchard, O'Connell Drive, Londonderry. I just wanted to share something with the council and the town manager and the assistant town manager now that we have new people around. And when I worked for the town years ago, people in town would say to me, Dan, you got your own business. Make more money in your business. Why don't you do that instead? And my answer would always be three things. I love what I do. The benefits are great. And I have a retirement system, all right? So that I don't have to, contribute on my own. So as I listened last week to, you have department heads now coming forward with hopefully, their goals, and you want them to think out of the box. And one thing that came up was salaries. I mean, how do we compare with other towns? Why do you think people are leaving? Can we retain these people? Because think about it, you put a lot of money into their training, not just, sending somebody to the fire academy or, but every time they go to a specialized training, you're paying for it. You're gaining that knowledge, so you want to hang on to them. So I was thinking this week, I said, when I started here and we had the airport that came along, we were really understaffed. And it comes back to staffing. And I remember, Joe Ryan getting up there and telling everybody, listen, you're going to have to work overtime, people, so we can fill these positions. And I remember, working 90 hours in a week and just trying to fill those shifts. And it was basically because you didn't want to see somebody ordered to stay. And I'd be, I'm a workaholic, and I'd just tell the sergeant, hey, I'll stay, instead of ordering, a young guy over. Because sometimes people, look at the town reports and they go, oh my goodness, look at the salaries these guys make. But keep in mind, whether it's highway, police, or fire, these guys are working a lot of overtime. I'm sure they would prefer to be home with their families. So, filling these positions would be great. Retaining these people would be even better. I know that, the retirement age is, when I was there, and it was 20 years and you could retire. But actually, the cutoff is 28 years. So even if you have somebody that's gone 24 years, you still got a lot of life out of them. I didn't put it that way. So I don't know if something can be done to try to find out why people are leaving. Okay, how can you retain them? Can you do a survey, perhaps, of all the employees? The tricky thing with that is, if the town manager's my boss and he knows I'm filling out this survey, he's going to go, Dan, why did you say that? But I don't know, maybe between Lisa and Michael, they can keep it to themselves and say, okay, this is what we need to look at. Maybe look at other towns and say, what are we paying them? How are we as far as pay-wise? We have great employees. I mean, I'm sure that not everybody on the highway department loves to be out there plowing at 2 o'clock in the morning or having to work down the transfer station on a Saturday. All right? They do it because you have to do it, So is there possibly things that you could look into that way? Even when somebody retires, find out. Do an exit. Say, why? How was everything? Is there something we could do different? Maybe that would help you guys in trying to retain people and even looking at it and saying, hey, we got to look at this. Maybe it'll help us hire new people as well. Just a thought.
Okay, thank you.
Lisa had her.
I would say I could be happy to speak to that if you'd like, but it's up to you.
Go ahead.
So just from putting on my HR hat now,
Yep.
since I'm the HR director, we do exit interviews. We perform exit interviews when folks leave. I would also suggest that we have just had a recent round of union negotiations for 5 of our unions a couple of years ago. And so we learned then what was most important to them, did salary surveys, comparisons to other towns. We're going to be doing it with the police upcoming this summer. So I do think we have a pretty good beat on why certain folks are leaving. And it's for a myriad of reasons, as you might expect.
Right.
So,
Well, my thought was just if you reach out to individual people, not just the unions, because I know working under a union, you know, they don't always relay your personal feelings on something, you know? It's, well, we think it should be this, but I don't think so, but, you know. Okay, hopefully that helps you, Mike.
I appreciate those comments, Mr.
All right.
For sure.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment? Hi,
So what,
so I just need your name and address for the record, please.
my name is Kim Streitmatter, and I live at 3 Pine Street.
Hi, Kim.
And I'm here in reference to one of the agenda items with the chickens, the poultry.
So which one's the chicken one?
It's the ordinance 03, is it?
Yeah, so we're only having a first reading tonight, so they're just presenting the ordinance. And then they'll have a public hearing on it in which anyone in the public can speak, but we're in public comment if you want to say something.
Okay, well, since I'm here, I might as well say something.
Sure.
I've not
So you
done
get
it,
5 minutes and go ahead.
just 5?
That's all you get.
No, actually, I'm in support of the ordinance change, and the only thing that I would like to mention, and I'll come back for the public hearing, I don't know how this stuff works, so I'm just learning.
Okay, no problem.
Is that one of the benefits of having poultry is the pest control. And one of the things in the ordinance to change is if you have less than 2 acres, you have to keep them completely contained at all times, which defeats the purpose of pest control if they can't go through the yard and get the ticks. And that's my only thing I wanted to say.
Will they get the mosquitoes too?
I wish. Actually, they might, but I know that they go after ticks.
Okay.
They do get the ground mosquitoes. There's two different, there's water mosquitoes,
Yeah.
and then there's the ground ones. They do eat the ground ones, and they eat grubs.
Yeah, they're very, very good pest control, but if you keep them locked up in their cage at all times, you lose that benefit.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else for public comment? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Okay, new business, department goals and discussions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I just, Lisa and I wanted to provide a brief update on this item. Last time, we had the police department and the finance department here, and they came in to talk about their, call it 1 to 3 year goals and objectives, but also some of their concerns. And they did a great job. I certainly learned a lot. Lisa and I sort of debriefed after that and have continued to have further discussions with department heads as well. And what we have observed is that a lot of the department head concerns, a lot of the department goals can be addressed sort of at the operational level before they come here. And so in order to make the most efficient use of the council's time and the public's time, we are tapping the brakes a little bit on the kind of the full rollout of these goals discussions, so that Lisa and I can confer further, do some prioritizing, I think, in terms of what rises to the level that it needs to, that it merits kind of a full discussion at the council level. And that is, I didn't want to leave the council hanging, given the discussion that we had in the past. I'm not sure if, Lisa, you have anything to add to that, but that's the
well,
plan
yeah, we'll
for now.
continue those meetings and then bring back sort of a prioritized list to the council.
Everybody okay with that? So July 1's the deadline. So, beginning of the fiscal year.
Sure.
Okay. Is that it on that?
That is it, Mr. Chairman, on that item.
Okay. Next item, ordinance 2022-03, first reading. Hi Colleen, how are you? So Colleen, do you want to talk to us about this before we waive reading?
I'll give you the very quick, so this ordinance amendment is relative to keeping of poultry in the AR1 district. So the planning board has been discussing this for several months, and I think is come up with an ordinance that's trying to balance the concerns. We know that there is a big demand for folks to be able to have keeping of chickens and ducks in their backyards and smaller properties. So this balances that, and also trying to make sure there's not a nuisance and enforcement issues in the future. So planning board has recommended that this ordinance amendment be adopted, and we'll be bringing this to public hearing. The plan is for May 23rd to come back before you for that public hearing. Happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
One quick question, are we saying less than 2 acres? Is there a minimum size? Well, not-
So
we're
we're
a quarter of an acre.
we're staggering this so that nothing on less than half an acre, but on half an acre to less than an acre, you can have 6 poultry other than turkeys, and no turkeys. On lots that are 1 acre to up to 2 acres, 12 poultry other than turkeys, no more than 6 turkeys. The numbers, I'm sure, seem, there's been a lot of discussion and going back and forth and getting a lot of input from Cooperative Extension, and I've learned a lot more about ducks and geese and chickens and broilers versus laying hens than I ever thought I would learn. But we've had some good input and discussion from members of the community and from the New Hampshire Cooperative Extension. We think that this kind of tiered approach is a good step in the right direction.
Okay. Any questions?
Can you just outline, other than what you've already shared, can you outline any additional changes for the public
Can
on?
we save that for the public hearing?
We can, thank you.
All right, so I'll take a motion to waive first reading.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Chair votes affirmative. First reading is waived. Ordinance 2022-04, an amendment to the Londonderry zoning ordinance establishing groundwater protection overlay district, section 4.6.8.
So this would be a new overlay district that the planning board is recommending that the council adopt. This is based on the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services has a model ordinance that we've tweaked and amended somewhat to make sure that it works for Londonderry and acknowledges our concerns while still having the goal of protecting drinking water sources. At this time, the proposed district would be covering 22 wellhead protection areas for public water supply systems. So these are community water systems in the town of Londonderry. Some of them are in abutting communities, but the wellhead protection areas overlap into Londonderry. And so this would restrict what you can and can't do. It's really looking at restricting things like bulk petroleum storage, use of chemicals in those areas for the purpose of protecting those drinking water supplies. So again, we are planning on having this come before you for a public hearing on May 23rd, but happy to answer any questions if anyone has any at this time.
Anything for now? Wait for the public hearing. Accept a motion to waive reading.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Chair votes affirmative. I guess that's it for you, Colleen.
No, I got one more.
Colleen, did you want to do your website?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that one.
This will be quick.
Presentation on public access to projects under review website page. Gotcha.
Sure. So this will be a pretty quick, and I just wanted to take the opportunity to present this to the council. When I realized that I had a meeting with Mike and Lisa last week and pulled up, and I think they kind of said, "Oh, well, where's this information?" And so wanted to just let the council know and members of the public who are interested in development activity and what's going on in the town of Londonderry. So on the town website, we do have a couple of different ways of accessing. Basically, it's a projects under review page of all the development activity under review or recently approved by the planning board. The easiest way to access it is on the town's main website, where we have our Map Geo link at the bottom of the page. Just clicking on that link, and if you go to our themes page and scroll down at the very bottom, we have this application tracking tab. And I apologize because that screen up there is terrible, but these other, I think the audience maybe has a better view here. So what this pops up this series of dots showing projects that are either currently under review, projects that have been recently approved. And when you click on each of these dots, it basically pulls up our access to ENCODE, which is our online application tracking. And when you click on that property information, you click up, and this is terrible example, of course, I pulled up off the dot. So for example, this is a project for Enterprise Rent-A-Car was submitting an application for administrative review. So when you click into this application, it brings up the letter of request that the airport or that the applicant has submitted, has copies of supporting plans and documents, so letters of decision. If I click over to a different project, let's go down to Woodmont Commons, for example. We've got Enterprise Bank here at Woodmont Commons, a site plan that was submitted for review. When you pull up, and you can see there's a lot of information here. We've got letters of decision, we've got a butters list. Additional materials include things such as traffic analysis, drainage reports, all the project plans, architectural elevations. So all this material is available on the town website. When we send out an abutter notice to the abutters, we direct them to this project page, which can also be found by navigating through the planning board's page itself under projects under review. We have all this information out there. We recognize that residents want to know what's going on when they receive abutter notifications. They can't always come down into this building. So we try to put as much information on the website as possible and get this out there. A lot of this is really technical stuff that most people are not going to want to read a 200-page traffic report, but we feel it's better to have that information out there. Folks will understand what's happening. If they have questions about it, they can come to the planning department or they can give us a call and contact us. So there is a lot of information. I encourage people, if you're wondering what's going on in your neighborhood, to click around and explore. This has been active for 2.5 years now, almost 3 years. So it's been out there for a while. I don't think that we get much traffic. Not everyone's aware of it unless they receive an abutter letter and are directed in this way. But we're happy to try to make this information available, and we're looking at ways of trying to roll out additional, improving additional public access to applications. With this is all relating to the planning board. We're also trying to get zoning board and other project applications and property data, and taking advantage of our map geo and our ENCODE applications to do so. So if anyone has any questions, please just let me know. We just wanted to take a couple minutes, let people know that this is a tool we have, and encourage folks to check it out.
Questions? Colleen, is this both for commercial business and residential development? So people, if they're curious about a development coming in,
Yes, so.
they'll find information
So
there too.
anything that's coming into the planning board, so subdivision approvals, condominium conversions, lot line adjustments, commercial, non-residential site plans. It does not right now have the zoning board applications. That's something that we can do. We have the ability to add. Those are more of the applications of, you have a shed that's encroaching into the side property line setback. Those items aren't there, but if you're wondering what's going on down the street, you see some flags or a surveyor out on a neighbor's property, you can pull up here and see if there is anything that's been submitted for review.
Okay, so it's everything from commercial to a residential development to a single-family home or a barn?
So any application that needs to go to the planning board for review. So a
So what
single-family
would-
home, just building a single-family home on a lot does not need to go to the planning board for review. But if it's a project that goes to the planning board, subdivision, condo conversion, that sort of thing, that will be shown on.
I just wanted to make sure people knew what would be and what wouldn't be there,
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely,
besides ZBA.
yeah.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. Maybe more of a suggestion. I think that congratulations, I mean, this is really great wealth of information. I think that when you have these meetings and on the agenda, is there a way that we could put links to them on
We
each one of
do,
them?
we have, on our planning board, meetings, when the agendas are posted, we do include a link. And so the last couple of planning board meetings haven't had agenda items, that had development activity. But typically, we do include that on the link on the website that gets posted. So that way, it's right there on the planning board agenda. You get the link and you can go straight to this and see all that information.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I mean, even though the printout copy, it still gives you a cookie crumb.
Yeah.
But electronically, if you were to download it, that'd be great to be able to have it accessed. Great.
Yeah,
Perfect, thank you.
and I think one thing that we do struggle with is that there's a lot of information here. So when you look at an application summary that has, so we're trying to find a way to clean up and eliminate some of the information. We want to keep like most current reports, but there's a little bit of inflexibility in how the current application system works. So we're working on that. But at this point, my feeling is better to have too much information than not enough out there.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Colleen, great stuff.
Thank you.
All right, now, good night, Colleen. Ordinance 2022-05, an ordinance creating Londonderry Commercial and Industrial Property Tax Incentive Program. First reading. Did you want to talk to this?
Yes,
or did-
Mr. Chairman, I have a brief presentation
You all signed?
that I was hoping to go through.
Signed?
I signed them all, yeah. No, I think
I don't think that did.
Deb's got to sign.
I'm sorry.
Not at all.
Sorry about that. Sorry.
No, not at all. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to preview this program. As you indicated, this will be discussed at full length on the May 9th meeting, where there's a public hearing scheduled. This is an iteration of a program that was tabled in January of this year, and it had the same title, the Commercial and Industrial Tax Incentive Program. My goal for this presentation, as I said, is just to preview the program and to highlight some of the changes that have been made to it to address some of the concerns that we heard earlier in the year. In short, this is a program that adopts here in Londonderry a tax exemption that the state has made available to assist communities in attracting commercial and industrial users to town. Next slide. Thanks, Stuart. I'd like to help illustrate some of my points for you to assume a couple of different things. I want you to assume that there are two properties in Londonderry. One is a residential property and the other is a commercial property. Secondly, I'd like you to assume that the town needs to raise $25,000 to fund its budget this year. That's the money it needs to raise to run the town. I want to emphasize that these are assumptions. This is not real world. But these are illustrative of concepts and principles that are very real and are very much at play in today's economy. So in year one, the assessor has gone out and taken a look at the residential property and determined that that property has an assessed value of $100,000. The same has happened for the commercial property. It has the same value. How we figure out the tax rate is we take the $25,000 budget that the town needs to raise in order to run the town. We divide that by the total townwide valuation, and we get the tax rate, 12.5 cents. That's a bit of an oversimplification as far as that process is concerned, but it's a pretty fair representation of how that goes. The residential tax bill you would expect, and the commercial tax bill you would expect should be the same because the assessed value is the same, and that is indeed what we find. Both the residents and the commercial property are paying $12,500 in taxes, and they're each bearing 50% of the tax burden in year one. Next slide, please. We're fast forwarding to year three. You'll notice it's not year two, it's year three because we only do townwide reevaluations every 2 years. A couple of things have changed. The market value of these properties has changed. The residential property has gone from $100,000 to $125,000. That's a 25% increase. And the commercial property has gone from $100,000 to $108,000, an 8% increase. Let's take a look at how the tax rate is figured. We're taking, again, the $25,000 budget, and we're dividing it by total townwide valuation. The budget remains the same. The valuation has gone up. And so what you would expect to see, and what we do see, is that the tax rate has gone down to a little more than 10.5 cents. The residential tax bill, $13,411. The commercial tax bill, $11,587. Here's what I want everyone to take away from this slide. The budget has not gone up. The town is not asking taxpayers for more money. And yet the residential tax bill has gone up $911. because as values of both of these properties has increased, one has increased faster than the other. And residential is now bearing more of the tax burden than commercial. In fact, the residential is now bearing 53% of the total townwide tax bill. Also, commercial value has gone up, and yet their tax bill went down. They are now paying 46.3% of the total townwide tax bill. This is a very real phenomenon, as I said, that is at work in our town and in our economy right now. Next slide, please. I want to change the assumption and assume that in addition to the revalued residential property and commercial property, we have a new commercial property coming online, a third property in town, and that's valued at $50,000. Next slide, please. Now, let's assume that this $50,000 commercial property is receiving the maximum tax credit available under the program that's going to be before you for consideration. That's a 50% tax exemption. The total value that remains subject to taxation, $25,000. So when we factor this new taxable value into the determination of the tax rate, again, we're only raising $25,000. That has not gone up. The total townwide valuation has gone up, and it's driven the tax rate down. And so the residential tax bill, $12,111. The commercial tax bill, $10,464. And the new commercial property tax bill, that third property that just came online, just under $2,500. The takeaway that I want everybody to see here is that the residential tax bill has gone down. Because we've added this new commercial value, commercial properties are now bearing 52% of the total townwide tax bill. Next slide, please. Oh, the last slide. Yeah, that's the right one. The objective is to use this program to reallocate in favor of residential taxpayers the tax burden in town. It's important to emphasize, we don't want commercial development just for the sake of having commercial development. We want it for the benefit of our residential taxpayers. I am proposing, and I have put before you for consideration, a different program than the program that was tabled earlier this year. Among the changes that you will see, the scope of the program. Whereas the program was very narrow in focus, specific to the east side of 93, the Woodmont Commons 4A area, I am proposing a town-wide program. So this program would be more widely available, a little bit more equitable in terms of who can access it and the scope of the anticipated benefit. I'm proposing a trial period of 18 months where this exemption would sunset after 18 months without further action of the council. The last time this was before you, it was a 5-year sunset. That's the maximum that state law allows. Again, I'm proposing an 18-month trial period to determine whether the benefit that we anticipate in fact comes to fruition. And lastly, and most importantly, I am proposing that the program explicitly require the council to determine whether a tax exemption is justified and should be granted, the costs and detriments associated with the project under review. The council is not just determining whether there is a public benefit. The council is also considering those costs and detriments that we hear about all the time on infrastructure, things like that. And if the council determines that the balance tips against the being beneficial for the town and the taxpayers, there's no tax exemption. It's not granted. As has often been said, Mr. Chairman, it's what's referred to as a Dillon Rule state. We have a limited set of tools that the state gives us in order to assist taxpayers. I thank you for allowing me to preview one of those tools, those precious few tools, specifically intended to shoulder businesses and not residents and taxpayers with more of the town's total tax bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So, I know it's the first time you're probably hearing this, so you may want to hold off until the public hearing for questions. Some of you may recall 4 or 5 years ago, I started going to the school board meetings and letting them know the burden was starting to shift. And it was shifting from commercial to residential. And I've been saying the same thing for 4 or 5 years. And this, simplistically demonstrates, that we're there now. So, digest it, look at it, think about it. We gotta try something probably. And, maybe this is the right thing to do, maybe it isn't, but certainly it's along the lines of what we've been asking for, is think a little bit outside the box and try to come up with something else. Questions? I think we'll hear questions at the public hearing.
Got to get the calculator on this one.
Alrighty. Old business, no old business. I'll accept the motion to approve minutes from April 11th as presented.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Chair votes affirmative. Liaison reports. Anything new since last week?
Haven't had a chance yet.
All right. Town manager report. Anything additional?
Just a couple of quick things, Mr. Chairman. The issue that Vice Chairman Green raised last meeting about not being able to email your individual counselor, that's been rectified. Veterans tax credits still in process, will be addressed in public hearing on May 9th. Vice Chairman Green had asked that we look at the eligibility requirements attached to the elderly exemption, and that is in process. I've already had a conversation with the assessor about that, and he's in agreement that it's probably a good time to take a look at those eligibility requirements. Lastly, I would just note, Mr. Chairman, that we had heard, and I've told you over the course of months, about a desire that Conservation Commission meetings, but also other commission and board meetings that take place in this room, when maybe we can't get staff due to a conflict to be here from the cable department. That issue, through the efforts of Drew at the cable department, has been rectified, and we're now able to tape meetings in this room without having somebody physically here to do it. So that's a big improvement for accessibility, transparency, and I thank Drew for his efforts in that regard.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you. Just move to a point of order. Ordinance 2022-05. I'll accept the motion to waive first reading.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes affirmative. Okay, so save the best for last here. Lisa's got some exciting news here that some of you may or may not have seen in the public today, but we have some news about our PFOA water stuff, right?
We do. Yep. So it was announced today via a press release that the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, which we always refer to as DES, has entered into an agreement with Saint-Gobain with regard to the consent decree area, which encapsulates, the far west part of town, High Range West, if you will, and then other areas of Merrimack, Bedford, Litchfield, et cetera. So in that area, Saint-Gobain has agreed to the extension of water lines for a certain number of homes thus far. Those homes are actually listed in the agreement. It's a very long agreement, and there's an appendices, and it lists all the addresses. There are only 13 addresses in Londonderry so far that will be provided with the extension of water lines to their homes. I spoke with DES today directly about that. Those 13 are essentially the easy ones, if you will. There's already water right near them, water lines right near them. Saint-Gobain must, by April 30th, so very shortly, provide information about what they're going to do for the rest of the properties inside the consent decree area that are already receiving bottled water. They have to provide a permanent solution. The permanent solution will either be the extension of additional water lines to those residences, there's about 380 in Londonderry, or the installation and maintenance of a point of entry system, which treats the water as it comes into your home, if you will, not just on a faucet, but a whole house system, if you will. So that's where we are. That was the subject of the big agreement today that was struck between, again, the AG's office, DES, and Saint-Gobain. So more information will be forthcoming. I would also mention that they are going to be hosting let's see, I lost the page here. on Wednesday, May 4th at 6:30. They're going to be hosting a virtual meeting, a remote meeting for those who are interested in more information. You just go to the DES website. You'll see the press release on the first page, and there's a link there to sign up for that remote meeting. We've also put this information directly on our website and social media as well. They will also be contacting each affected homeowner directly. This is just for public information.
Anything else?
That's it.
Yeah, I actually spoke to DES directly, and I asked the question, are we looking at months versus years to bring this to resolution? And he expressed to me that he felt that it would be whatever it means moving quickly in government. So more months versus years.
Right.
All righty. Anything further from the council? Couple of quick things. Meeting schedule. So we're scheduled out through the 23rd of May. Let me know if anybody has any conflicts. I'm looking at the 6th of June, the 20th of June, and then we move the summer schedule. I'm looking at the 18th of July, the 15th of July, 15th of August. So we'll have a meeting just before Old Home Day. The 29th of August, since, depending on this way, just Labor Day falls, and the 12th of September. So it's the 6th of June, 20th of June, 18th of July, 15th of August, 29th of August, 12th of September.
I have a question, Mr. Chair, just for clarification purposes and Mr. Town Manager. For the accountabilities from the departments, do you plan on proposing those after you and the Assistant Town Manager dig into that on the 15th of July during that meeting, or?
I think that makes sense as far as the bringing it back before the council.
Yep.
That the timing works there.
The deadline is July 1st.
So it would be the
So that means
6/20, by
that'd be
6/20.
6/20, not July 18th.
Understood. We will bring the information back.
Thank you.
Okay. Not that I wouldn't, not that you wouldn't like another month, but no. Have to stick to some sort of deadlines. Anything else tonight? Seeing none, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Our next meeting is May 9th at 2022 at 7 PM. Thank you.